Shall we now move on to the fourth story? We will finish 4 groups as I could guess, and the 5th group will go off to the next session. The theme here is problem solving. There is a problem, you solve it, and it can also be that doing the job with full commitment. You know, whatever you're doing, you do with full commitment. We often do half and half. We are eating dinner while watching TV. We are not enjoying the food, we are not enjoying the program. We are half and half. We are talking on the cell phone when we are driving. We are not concentrating on driving, we are not concentrating on talking. So, these things are not correct. Wholehearted commitment into the job, and that is one of very important point of solving problems. So, the story is about a problem which is solved, but it also teaches you how to do your job wholeheartedly. 100% concentration, 100% commitment to the job. Now, the story is the root of all troubles. So, what is your problem? You identify, then how to solve it. That is what it is showing. The title is The Root of All Troubles. Trouble and problem are synonyms of each other. Trouble is the same as problem. Since the topic we usually use in soft skills as problem solving, not trouble solving, therefore I use the word problem solving. The title is used, The Root of All Troubles. This in English or in any language, for instance, is called collocation. Collocation is a very significant point in English. Whenever we are learning, certain words go with certain other words. We call it as collocation. So, the root of all troubles. This collocates very well. It goes together. So, we don't say, instead of root, we don't say stem or leaf or anything, because these are all parts of the tree. We don't replace, because they don't collocate with it. We don't say seed of all trouble. That doesn't collocate, because root and seed have similar meaning. You know, the germ, the point, the exact point from which the trouble begins. So, although they are similar in meaning, but we don't use it because it doesn't collocate. For instance, the word strength goes with certain things. You say a strong person, you say a strong table. You can't collocate it with something like a strong book or a strong paper. It doesn't collocate, because book and paper require some other description. So, these are what we learn. You get in the market something called as dictionary of collocation that will show you what goes with what. But as I told you, dictionaries, books, etc., they enhance your knowledge. They don't help you communicate. You might have lot of knowledge about English in your mind, but when you want to use it for speaking, writing, listening, reading, they don't help you. Therefore, book is important, but practical aspect is also equally important. Now, I am reading to you the story whose title is The Root of All Troubles. In a certain place, the fishermen were catching fish. A kite swooped down and snatched a fish. The kite is a bird. You know, it's a fish, a bird which eats fish. At the sight of the fish, about 1,000 crows chased the kite and made a great noise with their cawing. Whichever way the kite flew with the fish, the crows followed it. The kite flew to the south and the crows followed it there. The kite flew to the north and still the crow followed after it. The kite went east and west, but with the same result. As the kite began to fly about in confusion, lo, the fish dropped from its mouth. The crows at once let the kite alone and flew after the fish. Thus, relieved of its worries, the kite sat on the branch of a tree and thought, that wretched fish was the root of all my troubles. I have now got rid of it, and therefore I am at peace. Did you follow? As long as the fish was there, problem. You know, the beggar has no worries, but the king has a lot of worries because somebody will come and steal. If you have lot of money, you are worried. If you don't have anything, no worry. That is how the story is telling us. Should I read it once more? In a certain place, the fishermen were catching fish. A kite swooped down and snatched a fish. At the sight of the fish, about 1,000 crows chased the kite and made a great noise with their cawing. Whichever way the kite flew with the fish, the crows followed it. The kite flew to the south, and the crows followed it there. The kite flew to the north, and still the crows followed after it. The kite went east and west, but with the same result. As the kite began to fly about in confusion, the fish dropped from its mouth. The crows at once let the kite alone and flew after the fish. Thus, relieved of its worries, the kite sat on the branch of a tree and thought, that wretched fish was the root of all my troubles. I have now got rid of it, and therefore I am at peace. Did you get it? Okay. Now you can prepare for 3-4 minutes. The story is very elaborate. You can make it short. Okay, cut it short and then narrate it with your own examples if necessary.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sanjeev Kumar. The theme of the story is problem solving, and the title of the story is The Root of All Troubles. In a certain place, the fishermen were catching the fish. The kite suddenly swooped down and snatched the fish. At the sight of the fish, 1,000 crows followed the kite, and the kite tried escaping, flying from south to north, east to west, but the crows were still chasing the kite. The kite did not know where to go and dropped the fish. Then the crows stopped chasing the kite and flew behind the fish. The kite then sat on a branch of a tree and thought that the rigid fish was the root of all the problems. Until and unless we realize where the problem is occurring, we cannot solve. We need to realize where the problem is occurring, and then only we can solve the problem. Thank you.
Very good. Come. Very accurate.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Likhita. The theme of the story is problem solving, and the title of the story is The Root of All Problems. So there was a fisherman who was catching a fish, and there was a kite flying in the sky, and seeing the fish, it came and it snooped and caught the fish, and it took away the fish. So while it was flying, there was around 1,000 crows which were flying behind it so that they could take away the fish. But the night, it did not understand what to do. It just ran in the order it wanted. It went to north and the crows followed. It went to south and the crows followed. Intentionally or unintentionally, the fish got off its mouth and it fell down. And so as soon as the fish fell down, the crows also moved away. So after some time, the kite sat on a tree and it was thinking the main reason for the crows coming behind it was the fish. And as soon as the fish was off its mouth, and the crows also moved away. So any problem must be solved from its roots, so that it cannot be repeated again, or no side effects would be there of it. So this must be practiced by everyone so that any problem would not be left away. Thank you.
That's nice. Next.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Aishwarya. So the theme is problem solving, and the story's title is The Root of All Problems. In a certain place, there were a fisherman were catching the fish. Then a bird called Kite swooped down and catch the fish and went away. Then there was thousands of crows chased it, and they don't know why. It went towards south and they followed it. It went towards north, again they followed it, and it went towards north, east, west, south, and the results were same. In the confusion, it dropped the fish, and the crows left the kite alone. Then it went to a branch of a tree and sat there down relieved. So it came to know that the fish was the reason of all its troubles. So here, friends, if we have any problem, we have to know that what the problem is first, and then try to solve it. Without knowing the problem correctly, we can't solve any issues. Thank you.
That's right.
Good morning, one and all. I'm Rishika, and I'm going to tell about a story which has a central theme as problem solving. And the title of the story is The Root of All Problems. So the story goes like, in a certain place, there were fishermen who were catching the fish, and then a kite, which it's a bird, so it came and it snatched a fish, and suddenly a group of over 1,000 crows started following it for the fish. Then the kite was trying to escape from the crows, and it went from south to north and east to west, and still the crows were following the kite. So it realized that the crows were following it for the fish, and then it dropped the fish down. Then all the crows went away to chase the fish. So here the kite peacefully went on and sat somewhere on the tree and thought that the fish was root of the problem, and now it is relieved from all that tension. So the theme here is like, first we should identify what the exact problem is, and then act accordingly so that we can solve that problem and get away from all the problem. The kite here chose for the peace of mind. It is very important. We should first realize what is very important for us. For here, the fish is not that important than the peace of mind. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. The title of the story is The Roots of All the Troubles. Once a fisherman was fishing, then suddenly a kite appears and it swooped the fish. Then all the crows, by seeing that, all the crows was chasing the kite to leave the fish. Then the kite moves upward, north and south. Then all the crows also moved there. By seeing that, by seeing all the crows, the kite released the fish into the sea. Then the fish was happy in the sea. Then all the crows was left the kite for some time. Then the kite moved to the branch and sat on the tree. It was thinking that all this problem came only to catching the fish. Then
what happened? Any conclusion?
First we need to solve the problem based on the priorities. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. The story is root of all troubles. Once a fisherman catching the fish, there a kite bird catch a fish. Suddenly some crows started following the kite. The kite tried to escape from the crows with a fish in its mouth. The crows were making lots of noise with their hoy. The kite went east and west again. The crows also follows the kite bird. When it grows, crows did crows did the same. Kite were confused and leave the fish. The entire crows went for fish. The main problem is for the kite bird is fish. The main theme of the story is problem solving. The kite bird escaped from the crows. The root is the problem for root. The problem is for kite bird escape from the crows. The root of all problems.
Place a fisherman was fishing, and at the sight of it a kite swooped and snatched that fish, and at the sight of it the crows, thousands of crows started following the kite in whichever direction it moved in. It was moving in south, so it moved in south, and whichever direction, south, east, west, north, it followed it. And the kite started moving in, flying in confusion, and the fish dropped from its mouth, and the crows stopped following the kite, and it started following the fish. So the kite, sitting under a tree, started thinking that the fish was the cause for all troubles. So the moral of the story is, sometimes instead of holding on some things, it's better to let go, because that is the root of all troubles, and having complete knowledge of a situation helps in problem solving. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deepika. Here the theme of the story is problem solving. The root of all troubles. Here the story begins. In a certain place there was a fisherman who was catching the fish. When he was catching a fish, the kite has seen the fish, and he came to snatch it. After the kite snatched the fish, the hundreds of crows were following the kite, and the hundred of crows were following the kite, and in that confusion the kite was moving here and there. Once the kite left that fish, the crows were not following him. By this we can know that whenever we are in a problem, we should first identify that first we should find what the problem is. After that, by what the problem begins, and then we should solve the particular problem. And by this the kite has understood that after he left the fish, he got out of this problem. So knowing the particular point of the problem is very necessary. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Muhammad Asim. The title of the story is The Root of All Troubles, and it depicts the theme of problem solving. In a certain place, fishermen were catching fish. The kite swooped down and caught a fish. By seeing the fish, the thousands of crows started following the kite by making cawing noises. In order to evade the crows, the kite started flying to the north, south, and then east and west. But the crows did not stop pursuing the kite. Due to confusion, the kite dropped the fish, and then the crows stopped following the kite and went towards the fish. The kite settled on a tree and thought that the fish was the root of all the problems, and when it got rid of the fish, all its problems were solved.
Good afternoon, you all. I am Sinchana. So the title of the story is Root of All the Troubles, which is based on the theme of problem solving. Problem solving is an act of identifying the cause of the problem and selecting alternatives or options to solve it. So the story goes as follows. In a certain place, the fishermen were catching fish, and a kite suddenly scoops down and snatches the fish. Nearly 1,000 crows at the sight of the fish chases the kite, and makes a lot of noise. And no matter where the kite flew, the crows followed it everywhere. As the kite was hanging in midair in confusion, it let go of the fish all of a sudden, and the murder of crows at once follows the fish, leaving the kite alone. Once it was relieved of the crows, the kite sits and thinks of how the fish was the cause of all the troubles. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Good morning to one. Good morning to one and all. I am Narsingh Rao. Today we are going to talk about a small story, the root of the trouble, with the theme of problem solving. In this story, we narrate about the smartness and intelligence of the bird, namely kite. In a certain place, fishermen were catching the fishes. At that time, a bird, namely kite, snatched a fish in his mouth and flew away. Upon catching the sight of the fish, thousands of crows started following the kite. So, by the fear of the crows, kite started running away in the direction of south. Then the crows started following in the south to the kite. After that, kite started running in the direction of north. Then the crows started following in the north. As usual, the kite started running in the direction of east and west. The same crows follows to the kites. Then finally, kite dropped the fish into the river and ran away in the far place and sit on a tree in a peace. So crows started following to the kite, and crows left kite. Moral of the story. Moral of the story: fearing and running from the problem is not irrationality, but knowing the cause and solving it is very important.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arjun, and the title of the story is "The Root of All Troubles." In a certain place, once upon a time, the fishermen were catching fish. Suddenly, a kite swooped in and caught a fish. Then, looking at the fish, the crows saw the fish and started following the kite. When the kite went up north, the crows followed the kite up north. When it went down south, the crows followed its tail. So the kite somehow wanted to get rid of the fish, somehow wanted to get rid of the crows that were following. So it finally let go of the fish and the crow stopped chasing it. So then the kite rests peacefully on the branch of a tree and thinks, what was the problem? He finally realizes that the wretched fish was the problem. So this story gives us a great insight on how to solve the problems. We need to have proper presence of mind in every single situation, and with the help of that, we can logically solve each and every problem. Thank you.
Good. Story of group number 4, I think it was very well narrated. All of them put in some comment of their own, which was much appreciated because problems come to our lives all the time. And unless we know how to solve our own problems ourselves, it is of no use, because depending on others to solve our problems is not good enough. How this problem gets solved, you can also see, is by getting rid of unnecessary things. The fish here is something unnecessary. So as long as the kite was hoarding the fish, one solution would have been the kite would have eaten off the fish. That means what you require. You know, we don't require millions of rupees. We require a decent life, we require a decent house, a decent car, a decent job, etc. But today what we have become, we want more and more. If we have one house, we want 10 houses. If we have 1 car, we want 5 cars. No place to keep any of these things. So that is the hoarding instinct which is the trouble here. Instead, if we use something for our needs, not for our greed, then it is very good. No problem is there. But when we have more than what we require, it becomes a trouble, and then till we get rid of that trouble, here the fish has to be lost before the bird can be at peace. So I think it was well narrated. I'm sure the others who are listening are also listening critically. You are also listening to find out how they are speaking and how they can speak better. This is very important. So this listening exercise will continue because one group is left.